Hey, hello, how we doing? I don't really play many multiplayer games anymore, and I find myself not doing this right because, okay, when I played World of Warcraft for like a couple years, like if you would try to get a raid together, you had to have people that were on specifically at this time for this raid. And, these are people who had responsibilities. They're from other parts of the world, so maybe their internet weren't the best. And we had to get together, then do the raid. And then, sometimes when you do the raid and you failed, it's like, okay, that's 2 or 3 hours down the drain, and then it's like, okay, some people need to leave, and we gotta be like, okay, we'll reconvene later, and then we come back later, then someone else wouldn't be able to join. It's like, okay, we can do it again, and again, this isn't really the reason because back then I had a lot of time, so it's something I could do. Now I don't really have a lot of time to jump online games, and it's a kind of time, but it's also kind of I don't want like treating games like they're a job, right? Like I can play competitively, and I have no problem with that. But I think there's a difference between treating games as an obligation and just gaming competitively. So yeah, there's a level of seriousness you'd have to play competitively, but you still understand it's just a game, right? And the competitiveness adds to games, and it's just kind of like difficulty. Like I don't mind playing difficult games, but I do mind gaming as an obligation, like being obliged to play this game at this time with everyone. And World Warcraft nowadays has a bad fucking job with that because, and it kind of always had a problem because you clear the raid with one group of people, so you get the gear, farm out the a higher gear score or gear rating, and then if you miss that raid, you were automatically behind. So you were either left behind and like, well, why would I still play this? If again everyone else is ahead of me and now I have to do it, but I can't do it with the boys because they've already done it. And I have to hope they can go back and do it again. If not, well, like why would I still play this game? And this is why a lot of people dropped off of World of Warcraft is because I mean, you weren't always able to be on with the guild, so you're behind. And again, some of the strictest guilds will kick you if you miss a raid. Like some of the top guilds in the world will be like, oh, you're not allowed in this guild. Well, you can't do this raid. They'll just kick you. And it's odd because some of the non-competitive ones would grind more than the competitive guilds. Because what the competitive guilds would do is they grind full 12, 15, 16 hours on the new content, then fuck around. Whereas the non competitive guilds will be like grind 8 days, 7 days a week, or 5 days a week, right? And okay, this is just World of Warcraft. I think most people just don't. Well, again, if you have a job, if say you have kids, if you have responsibility and duties outside of games, again, you'd rather keep games as a hobby, as a means to shut your brain off and just enjoy them, and not as this obligation you have to do it because the boys are with you, and when the boys are with you, you have to do it. And when we act like this again, you just get burnt out quickly. And when that happens, like, what's the point? Like at that point, it's effectively a waste of time. Like, why? Like maybe you got your enjoyment out of the game, maybe you didn't. But it's like, what's the fucking point if you're just gonna get burnt out, never play it again? It's like at that point, it's almost like you never should have picked the game up to begin with. And most games, uh, how do I explain this? Most games thrive off of FOMO. Like most multiplayer games have season pass, right? Daily challenges, weekly challenges, seasonal challenges. Like they feed off your need to play them daily. Like they feed off of the FOMO. And if you miss one of those, you're already behind. So you're like, well, fuck. I guess I've wasted my time when at this like race for serotonin. And games like Nikkei Gods of Victory and Zenless Zone Zero do the same thing, but you're not really racing against anyone. Like you'd miss a couple days and it just be fine. I mean, some of the story, like the side story stuff, you might miss a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's whatever. Same thing with Zenless Zone Zero. You might miss a couple weeks, whatever, or miss a couple days. It's like whatever. You're not in a rush against anybody. At the end of the day, it's you playing your set with yourself. But like most competitive online MMO games, thrive off the seasonal, uh, the seasonal package. And when you do that, it's like people just get like that's why every single multiplayer game to me just seems the same. They're all the fucking same. They all have a season pass. They all have some stupid skin type deal that you can pay for or you can buy. They all have, a premium currency that you can spend real world money to get. They all hide actual content behind paywalls. And it's like, if all these games thrive off the same idea, it's like, why would I play this game that has that type of deal if I can just play this game? And if you have multiple games with that type of deal, it will just be jumping between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games a day, and eventually you're just like, well, why? And then if you just end up dropping the game, you just feel like you've wasted your fucking time. Now, a multiplayer game, I absolutely fucking recommend, and I will play till probably the day I die, is Warframe. Now, Warframe it has a season pass, but you don't have to care. And if you do it, it's things that will absolutely help you throughout the entire game. It's effectively free stuff, and these are things that if you'll do anyway. Like it's non-intrusive. You don't have to care. You can even miss. Like you don't have to get to the max level. And you'll just be fine. And again, there's a game where there's so much content. You can play alone with your friends. You can play with randos, and still get this relatively the same good experience. Like I'm not like the minute I stopped trying to farm the new thing that came out in Warframe, it got objectively funner to me. It's like I used to grind every new thing that comes out, and I have everything in the game, right? And I have everything in the game now, but I wasn't in a rush to get Zaku Prime or the 2 Prime weapons. It just sort of happened, and that's just fine. In a minute, I've just stopped treating it like, and I was treating Warframe like an obligation, but I was still having some levels of fun. But the minute I stopped and was like, I don't actually need to fucking grind every new thing. I mean, it's whatever. It's just the game is like a whole new world of Warframe opened up to me. And I think Warframe is the golden standard for multiplayer games in general, but I'd even say games like Call of Duty can take look at how Warframe does its monetization. Well, I don't know. Again, the premium currency is Warframe is technically free as long as you play the game and you get the things. You can trade things for plat, which is the premium currency. Now I know Apex Legend did this thing where, you know, you have to buy the battle pass with actual money. You can't purchase it with the premium currency you get from doing the matches. And that's just anti-consumer because again they're trying to leech off people's FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And I feel like if they're probably like there's obviously going to be people that do it, but I think there's going to be this group of people that just find out and think the same way that I do. That's like, why do I keep doing this? In every game with the seasonal aspect, like at the end of the season, you just lose all of that anyway. And the first Ascendant, I think, is kind of will be like this. Like you will lose any upgrades you have for the I forgot what it was called, but it's effectively you know, perks towards this separate tree that gives you, you know, extra bonuses, you know, and at the end of that season you're just gonna lose all of that. And again, if you lose everything at the end of the season, maybe just you might just keep some supplementary things like obviously like skins and all that, but you lose anything of actual meaningful value that you grind in the season pass. It's just like it's a waste of time. Like once Human did this, and it's like why? Like why are you getting rid of all this shit? It's just I just think it's just a bad precedent of nothing you actually do in these season pass models actually matter. It's just them trying to hook you in and give you the illusion of progression, but then 90% of it goes away and you actually kind of keep the 10%. And this kind of goes along with, you know, why I don't care for multiplayer games. It's just the obligation, the fact that they're all the same. They all have meaningless things that you have to do. And Warframe doesn't have this. In Warframe, you keep everything you get from, you know, their season pass. And if you already have it, they give you credits to go towards other things that you keep once you get it. And the quests are just things you'll do anyway, just by playing the fucking game. But anyway, I mean, that's all I really gotta say about this, right? It's like many mobile and MMOs and multiplayer games are just losing the reason why you would even fucking play them, which is to just have fun. Now they're leeching off your need to treat it as an obligation, right? And many people I just feel like that's a bad precedent that's being placed in games. But anyway, that's all I really gotta say about this. Peace.